first, thanks for having me. And if you don't mind, this is going to be a little bit interactive. And in order to explain in order to explain the message. So my name is Angela, right? So I'm just going to put this on. And your name is Sandra. Have any of you ever, have you ever gotten a product, if you could put that on, from the store and thought you knew how it worked? And so you didn't look at the instructions and you just, tell me. Suzanne. Don't worry, I won't go through everyone. How do you spell it? S-U-S? No, it's okay. We'll just do 4 right here. And your name is what?
Joel.
Joel.
Yes, I've bought products and not read instructions.
Oh man. Okay, so
I'm a man.
can you give me any? Can you tell me what happened? What happened? What product was it?
And then you go crap word instructions. And
And you get the instructions out and you're like, okay, this is how it works. And how many of us have done that with people? How many of us have heard things about a person and thought we knew who they were or what their intent was? It's like you do it all through high school and junior high, right? But you eventually, when you learn, right? You come upon the right instructions. So this is relevant to polygamy. And here's why. My name is Angela, and you're Susan, and you're Sandra. Sandra. If you were to describe who you are, what would you say?
Who I am?
Yeah, who? Like, how would you describe you?
I would say that I am a wife and a mom and an aunt and a family member and a legislator and a community activist.
All kinds of things, right? And Suzanne, what about you? What would you use to describe you? Similar. Right? It's a lot of things. You're a lot of things because we're human, right? So what polygamy does is it says, you don't have this anymore. So Sandra, take yours off. Now, Sandra this is her title now, okay? Why is this her title? She is a woman. It says wife. She is a woman, okay? So she is a wife. And according to how it works, when you find out the instructions, well, there's rules that go along with that, right? There's rules, right? The problem with it is Sandra is more than a wife. And when we had slavery working in this country, you had people like her with her skin color that they put a label on. Your skin is black and you're not your own anymore. Now the reason why this happens, it's really simple. There's a couple things. There's not enough women when you say someone can have more than one. That creates like a problem in supply and demand if you're thinking economics. So without realizing it, or maybe with realizing it, what happens is you must treat her like a product because she is. Remember? She is a wife and has duties as a wife. Her duties, most of the groups require them to have as many children as possible because they need more people, they need more women. And so on the one hand, the argument is correct that Senator Henderson makes. All of the crimes that are occurring within polygamous communities, there's a very valid argument to say that all of those crimes are happening out here, right? Adultery, rape, child abuse, sexual assault. It happens, right? But there's something that that isn't so intentional in the way it gets set up when you have just one and one, right? You get to keep your identity for one. When your role, and their role is very spelled out, your greatest calling is to be a wife and a mother. Greatest calling, nothing else. In slavery, it was, you are going to work. You're going to work for me. And so you start to strip away the identity of the individual. And that's why what the real crimes are that we need to be concerned about are the ones that we probably take for granted now. You and I, in fact, everyone in this room has things that people in these groups do not have. One of those examples is freedom to think what you want to think. Because when you are stripping away someone's identity, you're saying you are only good for a wife and a mother. That's you. You're stripping it away. What they don't realize is that girl, that woman, she has lots of things. And so when you squash that, you squash it, there's repercussions for that. And so what do you have to do? The same thing they did in slavery. You're going to set some pretty strict rules on how this system works. But now another thing happens. It's not just that the females become commodities. So do the boys. Right? You're nodding your head. You see it? You see the picture? How do the boys become a commodity?
Well, they're going to compete for the wives.
That's right. And so what happens if you try to compare this to, like, you say you had a business and you had a product that's, you got to maintain customer satisfaction, right? And now you have competition. And so what are you going to do? Well, you better have a damage control policy. And so I see this as it's very, the reason why it's packaged the way it is. See, it's packaged under the name of marriage because it actually has to be. It has to be manipulated because our human nature, like, these are the inalienable rights, right? Freedom to think, freedom to be in a religion or not be in a religion. Freedom, if you don't want to be a wife, you don't have to be a wife. If you don't want to have children, you don't have to have children. Those types of things they're stripped away because they become an object. In the same way that pornography turns humans, in the same way. Yes.
I want to interrupt.
Yeah.
We have limited time.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that you cover what is.
Yes, so how does this relate to the bill?
Right, I know you're leading.
Right.
Doing a great job.
Right.
I want to make sure, and then people have questions.
Right. So this relates to the bill because, part of the bill is actually really good. Right? There's enhanced penalties on it. But at the same time, you're saying we're going to bring this down to an infraction. So you're in essence, you're saying this system that commodifies first women and then second all the men that become a threat is okay, and that the crimes are, they're not, and at the same time you're saying, but the crimes don't relate to the system. Yes.
It's my perception, and I could be wrong, that in Utah we prosecute issues involving polygamy. We don't prosecute people for living in polygamous relationships, but we prosecute them for things that produces. Welfare fraud, the way they structured their town and prevented and
The associated crimes, you call them, right?
Sometimes, occasionally, when it's a high-profile case, we put someone in prison for marrying underage girls, young girls, which I'm
Correct.
very happy that we do.
Right.
But ever since the Short Creek raid in the 1950s, it's been difficult for the state to actually go into a polygamous community or relationship, take some wives and the husband and take them into court and prosecute them for that. Am I
Right.
missing something here? Am I misperceiving what's going on?
You're correct that it is extremely difficult to do. What I want you, what I'm hoping to.
I'm not saying that's for or against.
No, yeah, what I'm hoping to help you realize, because I can't make you understand what I understand, right? Like, it's really hard to persuade someone to your side politically, right? Or religiously. It's really difficult. We all come with our own assumptions and our own beliefs. I can't do that legwork for you. But if I could just ask one thing of you, that would be take out the instructions on how this system operates. Yes. Yeah, so go ahead.
Sorry, I'm here with Angela.
Yeah.
Easton Harvey.
Easton Harvey.
I represent several of the advocacy groups, such as Sound Choices Coalition, Hope After Polygamy, and Holding Out Help. I'm a web programmer, guys. This isn't, I never thought I'd be a face of this issue, but I am affected by this issue. I actually have a very interesting purview. And I'm sorry this is not as exciting as clean air, right? However, the way the law is stated is upholding what we have as the Utah Constitution's ban on plural marriage. It's right there. It's in the Utah State Constitution. And in that, I'll ask two rhetorical questions. I hope you can ask yourself and honestly answer. How many people here believe that polygamy is about consenting adults?
What was your question again?
How many people here believe that polygamy is about two consenting adults, two or more, doing as they choose? That's what the issue is about.
I don't think anyone wants to do rhetorical votes.
That's fine. And you don't have to answer. And then how many people here believe, and again, this is rhetorical, you don't need to answer, believe that this is an eternal principle or a higher law? That there has to be a way that this could be lived appropriately given the circumstances, that we just can't figure it out yet. And I think what Angela is getting to, what this bill is addressing is the 1%. The 1% of polygamy that is not underground. Okay? It's the independents. So they partnered up with the Joe Dargers, the independents, and they are for the most part living in the light. They are not the problem. I believe we're all here trying to do good. I believe this bill is trying to do good. My purview is this. I can tell you the ugly truth, and I wrote my thoughts down to keep it concise because I want to value your time. The ugly truth of what really it's like for me. I grew up as a traditional Mormon, okay, and now I'm engaged to someone who's an ex-order member. Okay, I've been able to penetrate that cloak of darkness. I'm on the inside, as they would consider themselves, and an outsider, as they consider me. But I've been able to pull that door open and see really what's going on. My hands-on experience dealing with this Utah, being a haven for polygamy, is very different. From my unique perspective, being raised out on the outside, I now have a direct connection to polygamy and strongly believe that SB 102 is ill-advised, compiled by outsiders' simplified views of what's really going on. I find there's often a cognitive dissonance that comes when it comes to polygamy. I'm a product of polygamy. I'm fairly certain there's one or two of you or more that could probably say the same thing. I was raised in a church that was founded by polygamists. I have this innate thing in my head saying, there's got to be a way that this is going to work. We just aren't righteous enough, right?
We have some questions
Yeah.
here. We want to know about the bill.
Okay,
I
so-
don't want to cut you off,
Yeah.
but we really have time.
Let me fast forward to my personal experience, and I'll just do one paragraph here. Is that okay?
Yeah, but can I just make a point real quick? I wasn't here because I was dealing with something, and I wasn't here for the example you did, but I just want to point out that never is it allowed, from my perspective, in this caucus, to compare anything to slavery.
Oh,
And I
no,
just
you're
wanna put it
wrong.
out
I'm
there.
sorry, you are wrong.
I'm not in a fight
You are
with you.
absolutely wrong. You cannot be closed-minded like that. You have to be willing to say, maybe I don't know everything about this issue. You're closing off all options.
You offended.
Okay, look,
Members
please,
of our
we're not
caucus.
here to have a debate. We're here to get information and, I don't want to.
You can have a different opinion.
It's okay. Can I just